Where can I find Labnaf documentation? Labnaf documentation is accessible from the Labnaf 1 website. Let's see the options under the Resources menu. As a first introduction, there is an overview document. Or, if you prefer, there are also videos. You will find these on the Labnaf website, and on the Labnaf channel. We advise you to first watch the 6-minute introduction video. It is called Labnaf, Unified Solution for Driving Transformations. Then we strongly recommend watching the 9-minute video called Labnaf, Unified Transformation Process. Step by step. This is a comprehensive explanation of how enterprise transformation really works in practice. There are a few posters about the Labnaf modeling language, the viewpoints, the meta model, and the transformation process. The framework documentation describes the common challenges for driving transformations. Then it goes through the different framework components, one by one. The user guidance is the practical guide for the end users. You can navigate, for example, the glossary of elements and connectors, or the list of viewpoints. A viewpoint is like a diagram type. For each viewpoint, there is a detailed description. The layout, the questions answered by this viewpoint, the content of the toolbox, the types of element and connector. There are also links to some sample views. You can also navigate the flow of viewpoints. This tells you which type of view is typically needed to create another type of view. It also tells you what role delivers which type of view. Labnaf viewpoints are described at 3 levels of detail. It is a hierarchy of viewpoints. The flows of viewpoints also have 3 levels of detail: visible enterprise description, strategy definition, strategy execution, and project architecture. You recognize the steps in the transformation process and in the repository structure. It is the same structure and the same terminology everywhere. You can zoom into this hierarchy of viewpoints. Level 3 is the leaf level, the most detailed level. At this level the viewpoints are diagram types. Here, you can access the default meta model. There is one single language, and one single meta model. It is expressed using the Labnaf language itself. You can navigate the meta model from different perspectives. From an enterprise architecture perspective, from a strategy perspective, or from a solution architecture perspective. And there are many others. For example, from the perspective of flows, or the networks, the network of IT nodes, the network of equipment, the network of people. The guidance shows how the elements, connectors, meta model, and viewpoints relate to each other. The elements and the connectors are like the words. The meta model is like the grammar. So, the meta model is the set of rules for combining these words. And the viewpoints are the types of sentence that you can create using the words and the grammar. The language is used in the transformation process. It is used for creating strategy and architecture content in the model repository. The content is created following a defined repository structure. From the model repository, you can generate diagrams, reports, and charts. There are predefined charts in the model repository itself. Another option is to use the Prolabora user interface to create C-level charts and dashboards on top of Labnaf. If you go to the productivity tools, you will see how you can, for example, schedule, import, calculate, report, validate, backup and generate implicit connectors. The guidance also contains examples. The main example is called Bobco, the bus operating company. The guidance website was generated from a model repository. On each page, there is a mail button. You can click on that button to start an email discussion about any diagram. If you go back to the Labnaf website, in the Resources menu, you will also find the end-user material. This is mainly documentation for the administrator. There are both documents and practical videos. How to install Labnaf components, how to enter licenses, how to customize Labnaf, how to transform languages, how to schedule tasks. Here is documentation about the different repositories provided with Labnaf. And finally, If you want to increase your expertise in enterprise transformation and in Labnaf, then take a look at the training catalog.